ancient principle of the tower, leaped upon the enemy by the mad frontiersman. He gave the artist back all his calligraphy strokes, only without the ink. The artist fought back with difficulty, though he knew these movements, for they belonged to him. Hyun-woo folded his fingers, mirroring all of the artist's actions. A calligraphic blow, he unleashed a volume of text on his enemy. How? Asks the unrecognized artist, how he was able to spot everything the first time. Hyun-woo had learned the power of the dark side, and now the artist could not overpower the hermit. After intense training, the mad hermit had unlocked the Sharingan within him, and could now see all of his opponent's movements. The artist's martial arts are so good that his movements were easy to recognize. However, for using other people's martial arts, there was a price to pay. Impossible, the unrecognized artist could not believe what he heard. Learning to draw just by picking up a pencil and drawing a picture of another artist, mangaka marveled. Of course, the difference between drawing and making a replica is huge, agreed Hyun-woo, but earned experience in battles and tower training, and also having advanced mana channels and cheats enabled, nothing is impossible. Well, it's time to start apprehending, i.e., the hermit. Meanwhile, a devoted student was blowing off an exuberant suitor. It didn't get any easier, Senator Liam noted. Hyun-woo is busy, and whether a high school girl can blow off a grown man. After all, she's only in 5th place, and the cabinet wasn't even 3rd until recently, the senator worried. You can just sit on your knees, square-headed offered her, and he brought his friend with him. Get lost, I told you I'm not dancing, the mad student replied to the annoying man. Tea and coffee, beer and vodka, let's dance. The giant did not stop. The girl was pissed. She wanted to leave the pricks to the master for an appetizer. But since he's busy, we should bury the assholes now, the Dragon Empress decided. Stonehead didn't realize where the girl had transgressed to, with a pop of air, as his buddy was already thoroughly mopping the floor with his tongue. And wipe it well here. The Empress pressed her foot a little harder. What kind of kids are they nowadays? They don't understand jokes. They immediately get into a fight. Puzzled the bully. But what does it matter, thought the Empress. When to kill the goats, now or later. I'm gonna slaughter everyone. Came out a mad student that even the Hulk shrunk to a mini version. Yit, he just thought, stands the girl beautiful, lonely, bored. How did it come to this horrified the Stonehead? The Dragon Empress quickly explained to the harasser why it was bad to behave this way. There were 2 masters fighting in the air, a reincarnation cheater and a Sharingan cheater. The fight was on equal footing, with the sides exchanging hundreds of blows. But the mad hermit had a little more cheats in store. He brought the unrecognized artist down to earth with a mighty kick. After this, mangaka lay down to rest on the comfortable stone slabs. Bastard, he hissed. So his cheat getting stronger while you fight. Phase 2, said the artist and poured all the ink onto the canvas. Like a squid, he sputtered the ink around him. The mad hermit covered his face against the suddenly rising wind. The real boss, thought the border guard, had lived to see the 2nd phase, and was not even technically an illegal alien. Master Bonsai's descendant was covered in ink as if he had bathed in it. The unrecognized artist held out black tentacles toward the hermit. That's an ability he won't be able to replicate, mangaka told the hermit. There's something just as good, the mad border guard replied, and let out red tentacles. You're not the only one who read comic books when you were young, the mad hermit noted. Hyun-woo remembered the skill that electrophoresis used well, even though he couldn't copy it back then. But it's different now, because he understood the principle of grafting, and he has a Sharingan, Master Bonsai marveled, a form of mana around the mad hermit. Hyun-woo performed his signature electrophoresis as an illegal electrician in the past. Dominate, humiliate, the mad student remembered the principles of the tower. The little cunt wailed at the stone-headed man, multiplying his pain in vain. What's the matter? He wondered. This was the 2nd time in a row he'd been bent over like a boy. The miniature ballet dancer taped the stonehead's filthy mouth shut. The Empress crushed his sturdy skull in cold blood. How dumb. It's not about skills, it's about martial arts, the girl said. A storm was brewing outside, rattling with man-made lightning strikes. This sight gave the Dragon Empress pleasure. Discharges pounded the ground, where the 2 martial artists collided. Hyun-woo crowded Master Bonsai everywhere, prescribing him a relaxing electric massage. Master Bonsai responded with inky tentacles. They fought as equals. and both of them flew apart, receiving a counterattack from the enemy. Even the enhanced resilience, the mad hermit, had stopped working. Master Banzai also felt that he wouldn't win with simple attacks. In addition, the electrophoresis technique was taking up a lot of mana, and the mad hermit was getting noticeably weaker. The cheater in front of him was getting stronger all the time, Master Banzai noticed. So the conclusion for the mad hermit was self-evident. Now, realized the Banzai master, gathering all the inky powers in one point. Prolonging the fight was not beneficial, the two martial artists realized. Hyunwoo concentrated, tracking his opponent's every move. The inkblot of the osprey continued to shrink to a small dot. What it is, the mad hermit didn't immediately realize the enemy's technique. The black blot stained everything around with ink, and it was best not to get caught under it, the hermit decided. He had already seen this technique, Hyunwoo realized, a nine-tailed bomb. What's the deal, outraged mad hermit? It's not a martial art after all. It's a blob of mana. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it works, the Banzai master blurted out. Remnants of mana gathered roundly between the unrecognized artist's hands. And then the Banzai master blasted the nine-tailed man's Rasengan. The inky tsunami rushed towards the mad hermit, a wide radius. From something like this, even S-rank strength would fold, reasoned Master Banzai. But the mad hermit used the principle of grafting to devour the ink mana. Thanks for the treat, said the polite border guard. Blocking the nine-tailed bomb with his electrophoresis surprised Master Banzai. So who's got the cooler cheats, bragged the mad gamer. Now it's my turn to show off my nagging skills, said the hermit, and applied all of the skills without a cooldown. The Banzai master lost back when he spat out all of his powers into the tailed bomb and forgot to save before doing so. The bright flash of the explosion incinerated Master Banzai's body without a trace. A duty text beeped, confirming that the frustrated illegal alien had been eliminated. All the cheats spent on him, the mad hermit thought tiredly. All that's left of the master of adult manga are the horns and the weird bandage. Hyunwoo looked at the unusual object that had fallen off the failed illegal. Master Banzai's secret. It said he wanted to become illegal to meet his teacher, read in hermit status. Already through the foggy shroud, he saw the faithful apprentice rushing towards him. Nothing to worry about then, relaxed the weary hermit. Even with the cheats, the rink was not easy, but the opponent had his own cheats, he fell to the ground. And yet he won satisfactorily, sighed the mad hermit. The lens of a digital camera kept a careful record of the entire battle. The atrium of the gloomy dungeon was once again occupied by the manganese lord. The hidden mountaineer and the illegal hiker candidate are defeated. Listen to the lord's report. Impressive, he said, scratching his crimson chin. The dead were strong. No pain, no gain. He uttered an ancient principle. Only through crises do one become stronger. The guardian border guard of the 9th floor is this crisis, asked the servant of the Crimson Lord. Had he met a top-ranked mountaineer, the Lord asked, and received a negative answer. However, the border guard is yet to meet such a tourist soon, for even gods avoid the 8th floor, the servant monk added. Hyunwoo lay resting, waiting for the stretcher, his faithful disciple leaning over him from above. How quickly he would reach his limit, thought the carefree, tired hermit. The helpful goons from Hyunwoo's guild were discussing the hot news. A veritable massacre horrified the docile office girl. But her co-workers, on the contrary, rejoiced in the awesomeness of the boss they worked for. How so, shrunken office cluelessness in the world is going on, and they are so calm. Only 9 people survived the bloody feast. Regional associations have already stated that the losses will not affect the overall strength. There are still plenty of worthy hunters to replace them. The dummy didn't give a shit. All they cared about was the boss's status. The media lies heard the obvious truth. All for diversion, said the slave accountant. If the head finds out, he won't like it, realized the redhead. Better not to say that in front of the hermit, added the slave girl. Cutie. So Yan flew in to check on her injured friend, looking lousy. The one lay bandaged like a mummy and sassed back, so it wasn't all bad, the lovely huntress realized. The cutie left to go about her business, leaving the hermit behind. Even after several days had passed, he was still not back to normal. His wounds ached. The consequences are no joke, stated the mad hermit. It could have been even worse if it wasn't for his special cheats. His mana would have just been destroyed. Energy was still circulating improperly in the tangled channels. He turned on the cheats intuitively, not knowing all the details of their use, and it made itself felt. What to do next, the Mad Hermit asked himself. Train on his own or find a mentor. A couple days later, he asked how to use Master Bonsai's portmanteau. The android girl did the appraisal as an experienced pawnshop employee. Also how to get rid of the restrictor, the Mad Hermit asked her. Android has clearly improved the search engine in the time he's been away, and has done a search. Pretty quickly, the white-haired android found the clue. Whatever the item is, you have to go down into the maze to open it, the girl informed the neural net. Okay, Hyunwoo realized, the system wouldn't give any big answers anyway. Are there any new awards, the Mad Hermit asked? And there was one. The system now gave access to thoughts, twice a day, similar to telepathy, Hyunwoo realized. It's hard to use this skill on hunters, but it's quite easy to use it on ordinary people. A notification system had been added as well of the time and place of the hunters, but Hyunwoo didn't quite understand what it was. The android made a cute face again. She'll be begging again, the Mad Hermit realized. The console, he guessed the neural network's intentions, and it pouted its lips. But instead, he decided to share some important information with him. Hyunwoo tested his new telepathy ability on a test student. It was better he didn't. All her thoughts were on the mad teacher. Is all well with the teacher? Asked his ardent and eager student. Hyunwoo regretted seeing her thoughts, a solid stream of worry. But where is Seo Young? He asked the devoted disciple, and she replied that the huntress had gone to process the hermit's discharge. Will everything be all right? The undesirables have gathered on the first floor, the student reported. Ah, those simpletons, the hermit remarked to the reporters. The student offered to eliminate, but Hyunwoo volunteered to escort them himself. As soon as he left the hospital grounds, he was bombarded from all sides. Shoving recording phones right in his face, they wouldn't let him say a word. Let the steamer go. The hermit waved his wings to disperse the pesky journalists. One even got a painful elbow to the chest. Even the wounded hermit easily scattered the wretched humans. One slippery paparazzi took great offense at being treated that way. This hunter considers the rest of us to be Untermenschen or something. The journalist was indignant. Hyunwoo started as soon as everyone quieted down, but he was rudely interrupted. Is it true that the massacre at the banquet is an excuse to kill the unwanted? Asked a cheeky journalist. Even the other journalists were taken aback by such directness. Hyunwoo wanted to continue, but the insolent reporter, sarcastic further, whether the hermit's answer could be considered an agreement, he asked. The damned smurd has lost his way, thought the mad emperor. Great, gloated the cheeky journalist. That's what he wanted. But Hyunwoo didn't respond to the barbs and bluntly told the jerk to disappear. The journalist faltered at the direct threat. He wasn't used to this. Usually his victims acted within the law. Hyunwoo gave 30 seconds for the reporter to disappear, or there would be no interview. Not far away, the Dragon Empress summoned a hidden servant. She merely held her hand at her throat and looked in the right direction. Spring had sprung on the city streets. The devoted student never took her eyes off her teacher. The ever-circumspect Shay Ken read the news about the hermit and his run-in with reporters. There he was, called polite. The mad hermit opened the door as usual after knocking lightly and returned with his apprentice. Soon he will be traveling to the labyrinth, the mad hermit reported. Shiken wondered why all of a sudden the hermit had enough money, and he replied that he wanted to check something. Hyunwoo also said that Shuken's guild was needed. It's all about the cards, the mad hermit explained, and he couldn't even read them. Shiken realized. The labyrinth is a place where you can't rest and there are monsters everywhere. He said he would prepare a raid next week. The satisfied hermit ran his hand through his apprentice's silky hair. The candidate for the first concubine immediately blushed scarlet. Scratching the cat, the mad teacher remembered a familiar feeling. There was another student, too. A face popped up in my memory. Is everything okay with that kid? Wondered the mad teacher. The image of the girl with the rose thorns surfaced in his mind. Back in the old days in the tower, he played the mad teacher scenario and planned to escape afterward, but it didn't work out well. But the other child himself asked to be apprenticed to the mad hermit. It was too late to teach absurd martial arts to her, so he trained the girl differently. Since he hadn't heard from her at all, that in itself was good news, the hermit decided. Hyunwoo is hovering in the clouds again, a cautious Shi Kyung remarked, rummaging through the papers. What the hell? He thought as he read the other news in the feed. It was written that the slippery and arrogant reporter who harassed Hyunwoo disappeared after he quit the association. It didn't look like the mad hermit was settling matters quietly, thought the cautious Shurken. So it's about this sweet and loyal student with a violent temper. It's worth being nice to the mad hermit, decided for himself, cautious Shurken. An expected but not at all unwelcome guest arrived in Deputy Bariska's office. He adjusted his tie. Hard negotiations were coming. The deputy couldn't just give the dungeons to the hermit. Turning to Mason for help can't be done either, the deputy pondered. After the massacre the hunters from his political faction had caused, he couldn't act in the open. It didn't matter if the politician was personally involved or not, he would be closely monitored. After this incident, all influence in the association was seized by one man. The office was entered, and Boris's deputy turned around. The crazy hermit in the sweatpants had already trodden a path to this office, so many times he'd been here. So what's the answer? Went the hermit straight to the point. Time to bargain with that creepy type. The deputy barely opened his mouth as Hyunwoo rudely interrupted him. Let's finish this quickly, said the crazy mob boss. From now on, say only yes and no. The mad hermit pointed his finger at the simpleton. The one couldn't stand such insolence and jumped up from his seat. But what's the big deal? The mob boss asked. Only 40%. He could have taken all of it, but he took pity on them. The damn psycho went straight into spin mode, pissed off the office slug, but he heard a familiar voice. Hyunwoo turned on his phone recording before he diligently spoke the taken tongue from the former costume gang. The voice of number 6, the office plankton, recognized it. Just in case, the hermit said, if they refuse to volunteer to donate to his guild's fund, it's only going to get worse, said the country's most powerful mafia group. The office slug was covered in sweat in an instant. One more question, said the mad hermit. It's all completely voluntary and pro bono, the mob boss reminded us. And who's the principal now? The office slug has clenched his knees. The Dragon Empress listened to the minion's report. Thoth proudly reported on the new conquests that the Empire's troops were bringing in right now. Good job, praised the minion with a satisfied cat. The teacher's house is almost complete. All this time she had been so cold and cruel, it was unusual for a minion to see the mistress happy. Without noticing him, the girl indulged in sweet dreams. The secret guards appeared, the chatterer eliminated, the Empress asked. But got a negative, the answer, a third party, took care of the reporter. And who dared to take their spoils? Asked the mad Empress. The servant raised the clipboard to her eyes. Here is the only clue, mistress. This sign was left on the victim's desk, reported to her. The kidnappers wanted to make themselves known, the henchman continued, and were ordered to investigate everything. In the same instant, the head of the secret guard vaporized, with a slight pop. He let his chief minister go as well, but the latter asked lastly when the lady would return to her homeland. The satisfied cat informed him that he would return when the emperor wanted him to, but until then, let him keep an eye on things. Recognition blossomed the chief minister of the empire. No one had ever received such confidence until now. He bowed to her, but the contented cat didn't care, purring about his own. The homeless hermit was visiting with Shu Ken again when he asked him how the deal with Ares went. The deal went great. In 2 weeks, the guild problem will be sorted out. By using telepathy, Hyunwoo discovered the slug's dastardly plans to install a device in the dungeon on Mason's orders. The mob boss thought he was taking over the business, but Mason's rival organization showed up. But who would just let go of their chance, reasoned the crazy mob boss. The dungeon stank horribly of sewage, a prime place for a slimy office slug. Half-decomposed dead people and skeletons walked around. Another work-weary office plankton. Trying not to breathe, the still-living office slug snuck in here. So that's where the souls of burned-out employees go, Ares' office goon realized. Having a good stealth skill, he avoided the zombie planner. He took on this risky assignment for a promotion. They were already being handed out left and right. The guild was having a rough time. You just have to bury it, the slug followed instructions. When he ran into a crime boss, why this racketeer was back again hung the mute question of Bariska's deputy. Sorry, got held up, apologized the polite mobster. It's been 6 hours, he greeted the office plankton. Words fail, these feelings cannot describe, thought the slug. Let's talk, suggested the polite organized crime boss, but the deputy rudely called for security. The guards showed up at the same second, though a little different than he'd expected. Two from the box propped up the hapless goon. "End passenger, with your stuff out," said the goon to the polite mob boss. It was recorded in the case file that the victim accidentally cut himself while playing with the knife. "It's no big deal, it'll heal before the wedding," the mob boss reassured him. But the plankton continued to scream loudly in pain at the cut. "Knock it off," said the polite mob boss, "or they'll think he's a bad guy. How does he know everything?" Read the polite mobster on the slug's face. Hyunwoo sighed. What to do about it now? It wasn't the right time, or he would have rolled it into a barrel of cement. "If you realize you're in trouble, start begging for mercy," he said, and the model student nodded her head. "How did he figure it all out?" said the hermit, very simply politely asked. "This whole damn bastard guild keeps stepping on the same rake just like that," Hyunwoo simply answered his question. "Now start talking," allowed to slime the crazy mob boss. "If not, we'll find out which is stronger, the head or the stone," the hermit said. The polite mobster gave a moment to think, and the slug deputy agreed to tell all. A few days ago, Mason gave him the device and told him to install it in the dungeon that Hyunwoo wished. "But what was he given?" the office slug asked Geralt. "Catalyst," replied the white-haired scumbag cryptically. "You've heard of the monster wave?" he asked the office goon. "If you don't kill monsters for a long time, they accumulate and burst out. This is the monster wave. So this thing in his hands causes an artificial wave of monsters. Hyunwoo will be criticized for not keeping a good eye on his dungeons, and Ares will be able to bring them back. If everything goes smoothly," Mason said, "he'll continue to help keep the guild together. That's the way it went down with the clean-cut slime ball." The loyal student remarked very strangely and frowned her beautiful forehead. Why did Mason go for it? Because earlier he didn't have a problem with Hyunwoo, the girl wondered. Unless what was said was a lie, the Empress threatened to retaliate. It wasn't his fault. Mason came to him himself, justified the slug. Under the pretext of helping him, he was plotting something against the mad hermit. The goon had no other choice and agreed to such terms. He excused himself pathetically. How ridiculous, Mason thought, rubbing the strange bug-shaped objects. Master Bonsai failed, and after all, this was the first step to destroying the 9th floor. He sipped red wine from his glass. Looks like the math was wrong. Mason underestimated his opponent. The 9th floor was defenseless. Meeting Boris Mart made sure of that. They had a plan, and they were sticking to it. Step by step, they prepared to destroy the entire floor. There was nothing the hunters could do. With the help of Ares, they would control all the dungeons of the world, and with the help of the association, they would attract the best hunters. If a massive wave of monsters in all dungeons and a bloody feast at a banquet happened at the same time, the world would definitely collapse. As soon as the border guard appeared, everyone wanted to get in, and it says, "Don't get in, you'll be killed." Mason laid out the pieces on the board. The mad hermit has even gotten to Boris Mart. But part of the overall plan is still in effect, Boris's pawn, though he suspects something but is too stupid to realize it. Everything was going swimmingly, but the unrecognized mangaka took a gamble on losing to Frontier. "Stop!" Mason raged, the glass bursting in his hand. However, thought the illegal, there's always a plan B and even a C. There are still plenty of letters in the alphabet. No need to get upset if the plan called A didn't work out, he thought. He seemed to be paying too much attention to the bonsai master, believing that without supervision he would fail, Mason recalled. But mangaka grew on his own, effortlessly becoming ridiculously strong. Mason looked around at the dozens of boxes and the monster catalysts in them. He was satisfied. "Happy as an elephant after an enema," remarked a voice from behind the chair. "All right," Mason replied nonchalantly. He turned around and saw the intruder, who appeared like a devil from a snuff box. "Kim Hyunwoo," he shouted his hated name. "Where are you going? Private property." As he just guessed, the mad hermit gloated and added that mafia bosses don't write the law. Hyunwoo remembered how the android Av had warned him that Mason was possibly a hidden, illegal alien. No such person existed before the rift, the girl's neural network figured out, and then he shows up and spins everyone she added. How else would the bonsai master know about the world beyond the 9th floor of the Matrix? Of course, it's all hypotheses. The silver-haired neural network smarted. If the Guardian didn't recover, it was best to forget about it, worried the android girl. I had to wait, Hyunwoo said, to personally show up and squeeze all the business. More reasons are piled up prominently, the mob boss echoed himself. Burglary, bullies take away your eyesight, Mason chimed in. Gathering information didn't work on Mason, but a negative result is a result. Detain the rich illegal and take the property, saying it was lost or destroyed in the battle, pondered the mad mob boss. And put the plan into action. The floor of the house exploded like it was a house of cards. Mason took off with a rocket to count the stars. Such was the force of the blow. Good evening. A suave Hyunwoo navigator appeared from behind. Absurd's textual power kicked Mason to the ground, where it sealed itself into the welcoming concrete with a deafening explosion. What kind of detention is that? He has rights? The illegal subplot boldly stated. The right to chew the ground, the mad hermit replied, and sealed Mason deeper. No passport, give me a coin, said the honest and incorruptible border guard. It won't hurt at all. The law enforcement officer pulled out a mop. Can't mop, Mason thought, and squeezed with all his strength below his back. The illegal migrant smirked and said one word, freeze. That was enough to keep Hyunwoo's slipper from sinking deeper. The mad hermit was surprised. He was completely unable to move his body. He slumped onto his back as if petrified for once and could no longer keep his balance. Hyunwoo was perplexed as to what was going on while lying on his back. An illegal migrant rose to his feet. Miraculously, he managed to avoid detention. Bastard! He said, and kicked the mode dog in the ribs for threatening him with a mop. Like a plastic soldier, Hyunwoo flew aside, unable to move a single joint. An unspecified force held his body in an interesting pose. The illegal immigrant was well prepared, studied the laws, and brought with him the first volume of Capital, just in case. A strong wind picked up as the streams of power came into motion. Lands to the workers, factories to the peasants, no matter who deals with the bourgeoisie face, Mason told the hermit. The outlaw with the theatrical traits dressed up and introduced himself again, the voice of the people, Len In-yich. The place where they are is an area of communism he has been working on for years, Mason explained. The defenders of imperialism are powerless here. I knew that communism could develop in an isolated area, the hermit declared. Revolution is the movement of progress, gibbered Len Ying, delighted with his success. Get ready, you bourgeois face, we're going to rascalish him, Mason told the hermit. He has nothing but non-profit businesses and charity, Hyunwoo said. And how many are so gifted, he asked Mason. You're desperate, you imperialist muzzle, Len Yich realized. Trivial question. Working people are the source of all wealth and talent. They show up all the time, Mason stated. He doesn't know, Hyunwoo realized, and asked one last question. Does he know anything about repeat illegals who have already served their time? Hyunwoo asked. They're the ones who were deported and stripped of their citizenship, Mason replied, and to get it back, they're climbing the floors again. Former citizens, Hyunwoo wondered, and then who are they? It's unnecessary, Mason said. He's going to die now anyway. Discharges of black lightning traveled across the mad hermit's body. Something doesn't look right, said the mad hermit, rising. He moves again, squealed the illegal revolutionary. In the field of communism, there is no capital movement since, could not make out. Len In. People always find a way out, black market, under-the-table trade, instead of monetary capital, social capital, and the rest follows. It doesn't matter. Socialism, communism, people remain free because we are one biological species, the mad hermit explained. Damn it, the teachings of Marxism are true because they are true. Don't move, imperialist, ordered the rich hermit Len Ying. The waves of the planned economy have tugged at free capital, and were easily repelled by the free market lightning bolts. The time for revolutions was not yet upon us. Hyunwoo destroyed all attempts to nationalize his property. Mason grimaced. What about Marx? What about Len Ying? The spells didn't work anymore. Hyunwoo moved easily, completely smashing the opponent's ideology as untenable. After the battle with Mangaka, he had gained enhanced mana control, and now no outside influences could affect the hermit. Similarly, the attack of the long armored fist was blocked by mangaka. Even though the hermit still lacked experience, the technique was working. Mana came into motion again, and the mad hermit unleashed it to strike. He easily unleashed a volume of calligraphic blows on the illegal revolutionary. A clot of bloody mana slapped where the failed revolutionary stood. "It's simple if you don't get hung up on one school of economics," the mad hermit said. But the liquidation alert never showed up. "Old dogmas are surprisingly resilient," Hyun-woo fretted, always finding a loophole in unformed minds. He was left alone in the midst of the ruins. An illegal revolutionary escaped. The wounded mason occupied the golden throne. He could hardly move. One more moment, and the border guard would have definitely detained him. Plan B can still be executed because he still has the KGB. They started out as a small security department, and then they grew to include everything bad. Mason sighed contentedly. If there is power, any doctrine will become true. "Long time no see," greeted the illegal his guest. A girl as beautiful as a rose walked in, gracefully swaying her hips. She was smiling sweetly at the illegal revolutionary, her shoulder epaulettes of a skull mask flaunting on her shoulder. "Let him listen to it first." Hyun-woo handed Senator Liam the tape. He feigned concern, though of course he knew what would be on the tape. The wily politician pretended to hear everything for the first time, Mason's voice confessing to Master Bonsai's crimes. "That voice!" he shouted, playing the play out to the end. Hyun-woo was quite satisfied. This kind of reaction, political games are not for him, but he came to make a deal. "The record is authentic," the senator asked the mad hermit, and the latter nodded in reply. Mason is an illegal revolutionary, one thing that gives Liam an advantage. Now he can oust his men in the association and put in his own. All the money and contracts will flow through him. It used to be hard to imagine such a thing. A politician would have been accused of abusing power. But now it is easy to sway public opinion to your side. "So what's the price of the deal?" asked a wily Senator Liam. "Not much at all," said the mad hermit. "It's best not to mess with politicians, just play around with the media a bit," he replied. "All the hermit needs to do is get out of the journalist's focus and act freely. A deal win-win," smiled the hermit. The senator agreed. If Hyun-woo had personally laid out all the evidence, he could have been declared biased and dodged. "That's the end of it," said the hermit and left his seat. "There's more." Senator Liam detained him and asked. "There was a huge mana explosion at Mason's house, which was shown on the news," the senator said. "Is he dead, or is he not?" asked the wily politician bluntly, still needing to find out the full circumstances of the transaction. Hyun-woo sighed. He was easily figured out. Messing with politicians, not easy. "No," said the hermit, "not yet," clarified without wavering his voice. The Empress's bloodhounds scoured the wreckage and the surrounding area, but found no trace, not even a fugitive illegal. After an illegal dies, there is always a notification, but this time there was none. It's unlikely this system glitch. Hyun-woo was finally tired of thinking about politics. He should kill the illegal alien as soon as possible and forget about everything, the hermit decided. "I'm counting on your help in the search," he wanted to say, but was interrupted by a system notification. The system just credited him with eliminating an illegal revolutionary. Rose walked confidently past the secret agents while holding her sword. "You look tired," he told the revolutionary illegal. "We need to take care of one person," he said, and gave her a name, Kim Hyun-woo. The girl was dumbfounded when she heard it. "That's how," without changing his tone, calmly replied to the illegal. "But there's nothing to worry about," the illegal said, "because they have Rosa and the KGB. "No, not like that," interrupted the boastful ramblings of the chump by the pretty girl, and made a small jab with the sword in the chest area. The pretty girl leaned toward him to assess the implications. "It's a shame he's such a chump," Rosa said, mocking the illegal. He could only stare impotently as he was pinned to the throne. "What the devil do they do when things like this happen?" Mason looked at the agents. "What are you doing?" he wheezed through holy lungs. "Apprehend immediately," gurgled the illegal. Capture, quarter, cartwheel, and other uncultured words escaped his bloody lips. But the agents didn't move, betraying their superior. "Why?" wheezed the illegal revolutionary. Contra underhanded grabbed the girl's collar. Ta easily brushed it off. "What was he thinking?" asked his agent Rosa. "Betray friends?" And they were never even the same team, the agent smiled grimly. I mean, he's just a handy dummy who gave money. Did he really think she had created the KGB from scratch just for an illegal revolution? The real owner of the underground was not an empty-headed revolutionary at all. The whole organization is a gift to him, the true owner. Agent Rosa waved her hands. It would be proper to inform the illegal what killed him. Rosa gripped the hilt of her sword. And in one motion, she cleared the way for the blood to flow from the wound. Simple, he was trying to eliminate her real boss by her own hand. The illegitimate man rested in peace, breathless body condemned on the throne. Hide all evidence, the girl ordered the agents, furniture included, on file, tripped over a knife. But the body vaporized without a trace, so even easier thought the girl, no body, no case, remembering the words of the teacher. So he really is an illegal Jedi, vaporized if he's chopped, the agent confirmed her hunch. She gently touched the epaulette of the skull mask, whatever he had to face. She will help the master eliminate everyone who stands in his way, the girl thought softly. No doubt about it, the white-haired android confirmed it all. Len Ying is dead. He blamed it on the system, but it looks like there's no error even though he got a promotion. It was good that the fragment wasn't taken away. But what happened? Hyunwoo pondered. Did he die himself? Or did he have help? That's the question. The mad hermit rubbed his beard. I don't care if he stabbed himself while making sandwiches, the border guard said. No more hidden illegals, he asked Av, and she agreed. Since that was the case, he was about to leave, but the girl held him back. Is it for games again? Asked the hermit. No, pouted the embarrassed android, averting his gaze. But she wouldn't let go of his hands and quietly pulled him toward the laptop screen. This one pointed android cute finger at the VIR glasses advertisement, extortionist thought Hyunwoo. Android said it could do better, kept hacking away at the hermit's cuteness. And how can you say no to a child, sighed Hyunwoo when he heard the request. A few days later, the homeless emperor was greeted by a concubine candidate. To the entrance of the labyrinth, said the mad emperor to the coachman, scratching the cat behind the ear. What if the others aren't ready? His satisfied student asked him. One will be enough, the emperor replied briefly, causing the student to blush. The master will appoint her head wife, the satisfied student blurted out in her dreams. Hyunwoo quite read the news. Not much time has passed, and the cunning senator has already made up his mind. This problem is solved, thought the mad emperor. There's so much to do lately. The hermit pulled mangaka's portmanteau from his pocket, the progress on the lock moving slowly. Kai, my sweet, squeaky goblin with open arms, to get punched in the cheeky face by a non-human at the same second. How nasty the monsters are now, the hermit wondered. And there are many more perverts here, the mad emperor wondered. A devoted student volunteered to disperse all the supremacists, but the emperor refused. He wanted to slap the rubber faces on their hats himself. Time to get pumped up on the boars, he said, and lunged at the stupid mobs. The genocide of the green non-humans ended with a couple of powerful attacks, while the rest of the raid group quietly smoked on the sidelines. Sotona, said Kwan Seo admiringly. Cute Seo Yeon couldn't get used to this fact either, even though she had known about the hermit's power for a long time. Even all together in this tight passage, fighting back against the troll perverts would not be easy, thought a cautious Shi Ken. Maybe that's the difference. The hermit always drags the roller, in solo reasoned the hunter. Boss, turned to Shi Ken by the excited loader of the squad. He thanked me for bringing him along. The guy kept a record of the whole raid. A bunch of people flocked to his airing with the crazy hermit. Even the cautious Shi Ken was surprised by this number. Their friend had become too popular. The mad hermit raised his hand and stated that he was going upstairs. He had already leveled up. Mangaka's stupid portmanteau opened if you filled the strip with monster kills. Cautious Shi Ken asked a couple of madmen how they would climb if he didn't have a map and couldn't read them. The mad hermit quickly glanced at his apprentice, but she pouted her lips and turned away. The student, the mad teacher, addressed her, but she hid her gaze in embarrassment. Clearly understandable, said Hyunwoo to the crazy student. All in the teacher, he realized. They were bailed out by a part-time blogger loader. Though his fee for the raid wasn't full, he agreed. No problem, the guy said, because he's a loader for the soul, and he makes real money from streaming. The prisoner was awakened with a bucket of cold water in the face. He found himself in the middle of the interrogation room, chained to a chair. "Who knows what they're holding him for?" said the agent in the dark glasses in the basement. "They said interrogate him. They're interrogating him." A graceful girl entered the interrogation room. Agent Rosa herself went down to the detainee. Contrabreed, confuse the unformed minds, means she became over the prisoner, defame the name of the leader of the party. "The chief," blurted out the nasty reporter in surprise. "Defaming the name, the leader," he interjected. "Is it really about Kim Hyun-woo?" The journalist was horrified. Agent Rosa stepped up to the switch, with a cute face, good interrogation, the key to a clean confession. "It was a good thing he'd figured it out," said a sweet voice, and the switch clicked. "Mercy, I swear by my mother not guilty," screamed in pain and horror of the employee of the Wall newspaper. "Liar," said Agent Rosa, "and who wrote nasty philippics, made up poems, told jokes about the leader. You say you don't know anything, but you were warned that everything first to submit to the censorship commission," the agent continued. "Censorship," wondered the independent media worker. "But what about freedom of speech?" From the girl's collar, an all-seeing eye looked at him. "Big Brother is watching you." The dreaded motto came to mind. A few days ago in the newsroom, he asked the question, "Isn't it all suspicious where the free press has gone?" "Isn't Kim Hyun-woo too heroic?" he asked his colleague. No surprise stated, a co-worker, "The guy's a hero," stopped Master Bonsai. "All articles are commissioned. No criticism, just one-sidedness. Citizens should see different points of view," the reporter insisted. "Stay out of it," he heard from a colleague. "Quieter you go farther, free speech fiction. Write what they watch, what they pay for, chase the hype, or you will be left with nothing." A colleague trustingly slammed the journalist. But is this honest journalism, democracy, freedom? The reporter was outraged. What a tattoo, he wondered with a glance at his comrade's neck. "Recently made," he replied embarrassedly, adjusting his collar. "Now I remember," smiled Agent Rosa. "Freedom of speech is when it is against whom it is necessary freedom, and about the leader it is free to write what we say." Double standards horrified the idealistic reporter, but for what, he asked. "It's the duty of the intelligence services to keep order in the state, isn't it?" asked the agent with a nice face. "Mangaka's portmanteau is now ready to be used, but only once since he didn't become illegal, which means the effect isn't perfect," the hermit read. "Use the sword of electrophoresis," the system suggested. "I will be away," the mad emperor informed his apprentice. "I will be when I return." "Need to visit an old friend," he informed his devoted student. The portal worked perfectly and threw the hermit into an unknown location. He looked at his hands in surprise. Taking anything from the outside here was impossible. The mad hermit felt a presence behind him. The hermit turned around. The same guy was standing as if nothing had happened alive. A fifth-rate electrician, an illegal electrophoresis, stood with his back to him. The warrior noticed the intruder and turned around, giving him a serious look. The 8th floor was ablaze, the dragon Smaug, lying on the ground with broken wings. The winged lizard was spitting blood from its torn innards. "And that's all he can do," sounded the taunt of the enemy. "Thought you were a guardian," said the monkey with the cockroach mustache on his hat. "Heh," laughed the missing link in human evolution. "What animal are you?" asked the monkey. "The dragon Smaug." "An animal himself," replied the hominid. He would now show all his strength. "Watch carefully, cold-blooded," blustered the monkey, pulling out a stick. "I'm going to take this stick and bludgeon you, and then I'll skin you," boasted the evil monkey, introducing himself as the Monkey King. Hyun-woo caught Thunderbolt by surprise. He barely had time to put on his pants. Just sat down to pee in the bushes. Electrician Chong Ma was surprised. The mad hermit was surprised. This was not what he expected to see upon arrival. "Normal people go to the latrine," thought the mad hermit. "Didn't they teach you to knock when you come to visit?" the electrician asked the intruder, who knew that even in virtual space there was nowhere to take a dump. The hermit was indignant. But the electrician remained indifferent to meaningless excuses. Turning on Sherlock, Hyun-woo realized what had happened. He'd been pulled into Electric's hard drive, and the key turned out to be Master Bonsai's portmanteau. He was on his way here for martial arts, and since Electric was here, he could train him. The humble apprentice greets the master, struck his palm against his fist by the mad hermit. You should be ashamed of your modesty, Chongma rebuked the hermit. Sensei, teach me everything you know, Hyunwoo insisted, but was rebuffed. Who would want to train a border patrolman to apprehend him? The mad hermit realized. Shifu, Posea, teach me. The hermit gritted his teeth. Get lost. Snipped the last thread of patience from the proud electrician. First one with cheats and now come to learn reproach the hermit master. So what's a couple of cheats? What's the big deal? Hyunwoo wondered sincerely. Who needs that hardcore, the mad hermit declared. Your cheat set still hasn't changed. Evaluated at a glance electric hermit mana paths, except a drop, he added. With cheats or not, defeat is defeat objected, Hyunwoo, and he can do it again. Bullshit, said the warrior electric. Cheats don't work here. Let's see. The mad hermit rushed to the attack. All the insane cheater power descended on the 5th-ranked electrician. But he threw out the paper, and paper beats rock. The cheats really didn't go away. Here he is faster than before, Electric stated, and shooed the mad hermit away to think about his behavior. With no cheats and no way to view his movement, the mad hermit noticed. Even though he had gotten faster, Electric was still ahead of him. Still crazy kung fu is cooler, Electric, said Hyunwoo, jumped into the fray. But all his blows were repelled by the local Morpheus, with his eyes closed. The electrician easily grabbed the mad hermit's arm and kicked the failed chosen one in the side. This isn't the Matrix, he thought. Hyunwoo lost his temper, responded with a defiant kick of his leg, and resented it. Things weren't going the same without the cheats. But there weren't too many cheats before. Something was obviously wrong. In the past, the electrician explained, he'd done the call and set the limits. Because he was playing for an illegal alien, the system imposed additional restrictions. What does the hermit know about illegals? How ranks are determined? Does he really think it depends on personal power? It all depends on the recognized achievements that the system counts, no matter who you play for, illegal aliens or border guards. So when you get too strong, the balance system intervenes, the hermit asked. And he's smarter than he looks, the electrician stated to the hermit. Combat skills are at the level of elite illegals, but without achievements, they are greatly diminished, balanced by the system, explained the electrician. Such as during their battle, he told Hyunwoo. So be it. Suddenly changed the electrician's mind. You can kill me. I'll show you a couple of tricks, he offered the hermit, exposing his sword. It's a good thing he hasn't changed, the hermit replied cheerfully. But if smash the electric martial arts are unlearned, the hermit remarked. This is the training level of the Matrix. You can't die here, the electrician explained. But you can experience the full range of thrills, he said, and cut Hyunwoo in half. This is how the mad hermit experienced his first death. So Hyunwoo disappeared as he touched the port key, asked the always cautious Shuken, the lone cat, and she nodded. This was the end of their communication. A dead silence. Again he got into trouble. He could have warned him, breathed a cautious Shuken. The devoted student now looks like an abandoned cat. I'll gouge your blinkers out, the irritated girl hissed, and Shuken quickly retreated. Best to avoid her, he thought, and glanced up, noticing something strange. The secret guards changed their spot of observation, silently disappeared, and what his house had just become, Shiken lamented. Not even in his own house of rest, only troublemakers resented the hunter. When the apartment is fixed, he'll go there, cautious Shiken decided, and silently left the abandoned cat. She wouldn't let anyone near her anyway. The girl waited faithfully in the place where her master had left her. And carefully, she heard the voice that came from Hermione's pouch. So you can hear the voice, soldier, came from the bag. The devoted cat stared at the strange object. Whether it showed or not, she couldn't tell. Was she really the only one who heard that voice? The girl puzzled. Suspicious, if it wasn't for the master's things. I would have buried it deeper long ago, the loyal cat thought. You can hold your strength a little, my child. I will give you the strength of a bogatyr, led persistent agitation voice from the bag. What kind of talk went on? The Dragon Empress didn't understand. Don't be frightened. The first time is always a little painful, but then you get used to it, said the voice. Lowly Dimenes, a voice with an ancient accent, introduced itself. Morpheus continued training the under-elected Neo on the secret level of the Matrix. The mad cheater was using dirty tricks all the time, but each time without success, the electrician could not be taken by such tricks. Pressing the attack button doesn't mean fighting, criticized the hermit master, and chopped in two like a Greek salad the mad hermit. At this level, Hyunwoo could only rely on his own abilities. Why sweat in a game where you can quickly complete a level and learn the story? The mad nerd resented. How many times had he already passed this level? The hermit resented. He had tried 100 times already. So this is a bonus level, smiled the electrician. Just go on, he suggested to the hermit. Don't you dare underestimate the power of Korean nerds. The mad hermit clenched his fists. Don't you get it, replied the electrician. He won't pass this level. Hyunwoo thought about it. An award, there would be no award, no achievements either, except a checkmark on the list of credits. 100 rounds to dry, he reasoned. Is this passage worth it? Electric is strong. His technique can't be broken by stepping on his foot, the hermit pondered. Doesn't use fake bling like Replicator Boris. Doesn't go crazy in a difficult position like the master of bonsai. He cannot be defeated, for he has no weaknesses, the hermit concluded. And yet he was back on his feet. If there remained a fucking level not passed, it would haunt the hermit for the rest of his life. Impossible for now, Hyunwoo thought and smirked. There are no invincibles. Told you not to underestimate the power of nerds, said the mad hermit. Again the rubbing is empty, breathed the fifth-rate electrician. Hair, wait a minute. Hyunwoo got ready for another fight. Use force. Hyunwoo remembered the ancient principle of the tower. Think good thoughts, and piss whoever you have to, concentrated the mad hermit. Gathering his wits, the hermit went for another direct attack. Bored to death, sighed the electrician. At least he could think of something new, and sent the mad hermit on a restart download. The digital image of the hermit slowly tightened, but the pain didn't go away. But despite this, he attacked again, electric. Different from the previous one, such a pressure surprised the master, which didn't stop him from disemboweling the mad hermit again. Many rounds went by unnoticed, and each time Hyunwoo was smashed in one punch. The hermit had been killed hundreds and hundreds of times, each time mocking him, but raising his fist, he would not give up. Her mind clouded over, and memories of the past flashed by. Hermit was often bullied at the orphanage, by other kids. The educators reprimanded him when he dared to fight back against bullies. Had to work hard at construction to survive. To argue against the unfairness of teachers at school. And even in the tower, he always kept going forward. And even when his imprisonment brought him to the brink of losing his mind. The mad hermit never gave up. The fighting spirit gave the hermit new strength, and their fight ceased to look like a dull beating. He's crazier than he thought, the illegal electrician remarked. It's a hidden level, on a hard disk. There's no time, aging, death, no limits. The system puts all the illegals killed here. Normally no one but the owners can get in here, but a crazy hermit somehow managed to. What he said seemed to Yongma amusing, but only at first. Hearing such nonsense from his own assassin was strange to Electric. It was interesting to see how long the hermit would last, and so Chongma made a condition. He wasn't going to teach the madman, just wanted to vent his soul, zeroing in on him time after time. That was how it was at first. For the 100th time, nothing had changed, except that Electric was enjoying his revenge. The always brash cheater now looked meek and scared. But he would not give up, and the endless bouts dragged on. The feeling that he was being chased was spreading stronger and stronger, and the electrician began to exert himself to the fullest. On the 200th zeroing, Hyunwoo couldn't parry a single hit. For 400 rounds, barely a hermit could take 3 hits. 700 rounds, nice to keep the hermit from taking the final shot. The 1000th round, all fighting techniques unraveled and destroyed, the hermit has nothing more to do. The electrician was sure that after this, the hermit wouldn't be able to take a step. The mad hermit was slowly going insane from the pervasive, endless pain. But he would just rise again as if nothing had happened. This was beginning to irritate. Electric, having no other way to get rid of the hermit other than to force him to surrender, he continued. An unpleasant feeling was building up in his chest. Such a weakling couldn't even make a couple moves, but he didn't give up. Without noticing it, Electric has been putting more and more of himself into these rounds. What is this feeling, he asked himself, striking blow after blow. Only after the 2900th did he find the answer. The same feeling he got a long time ago when he became an illegal alien. The sensation was quite faint at first, Electric noted. He used increasingly destructive techniques on the pesky fly, but he definitely sensed danger coming from the hermit. What if this guy never gives up and drives him crazy with boring fights? To hell with it, Electric decided. Imperceptibly, he had caught fire from the duels. He faltered, noticing that he had slightly misjudged his movements. And the hermit did not miss this opportunity, immediately counterattacked. Gathering all his will into a fist, he landed an uppercut to Electric's chin. His fist hit the target and exploded with pain. For the first time in thousands of battles, Hyun-woo had gotten his opponent. 5 to 3,000 counted by the mad hermit. There's nothing infinite except Korean nerfing, the mad hermit cheerfully informed. Fucking nerds. Thunderball was really pissed off. The Monkey King looked off into the distance at the blazing horizon of the 8th floor. Quickly came the voice of an ally from behind me. The fat lion appeared before the monkey in a disheveled robe. The monkey was indignant, but his comrade waved him away because the monkey's buttocks are stronger than a stone, he said. That's right, said the monkey. In the 3 months he'd been waiting, his sciatica had become attached to the rocks. Since Fat Lion is finished, where are the others chilling? Asked the monkey. Roast Cock and White Elephant Don't Ask Where the Trunk Is arrived shortly after Tolstoy. Did you have a good time? Lev asked the couple who had arrived, and they confirmed that they had all had a good time, especially Rooster. How funny. Everyone has already climbed the tower and been illegal, and it took 3 months to get one zone, Monkey bragged. It's just that the balance of the system sucks, Fat Lion justified. Trinity got achievements for abusing animals and getting their powers. The system only counted them. Don't ask where Elephant's trunk is, you might get upset. And don't ask me how to become a roast rooster, resented the lion. The excuses of wimps teased the damned macaw. Shaking the ground, the Tower of Pisa appeared, leading to other levels of the Matrix. Passwords are the same, addresses are the same, shouted the monkey and ran forward. 25 again will jump on his stick, breathed Fat Lion. Everyone takes on one side of the world, the monkey reminded. 2 months for everything, boasted the talking monkey. The always cautious Shay Ken was torn from his paperwork by a phone call. They were looking for a missing Hyun-woo who hadn't been heard from for a long time. The rift happened, reported the cautious Shu Ken. In 3 hours the enemy will be in Korea. The sad cat was still waiting lonely as ever for her mad teacher. But he was in no hurry to show up and comfort the betrayed cutie. The electrostimulator sword showed no signs of waking up. The fight continued, the mad hermit still catching pitches the same way. The only counter he could keep was the battle count. Time did not exist in this matrix. The hermit was doing well and was already forcing Thunderbolt to move. In went the electroshock attacks, which hadn't happened before. New sensations, pleasantly invigorating after the usual stabbing foreign objects. The mad hermit was now attacking crazily and unpredictably. Striking a blow, he spun the turntable, messing with the electrician's mind with his nonsense. Just a trick. Hyun-woo fires a fist instead of a leg kick, but Electric dodged it all. Crazy nut job. 5,000 deaths later, said Thunderbird. Isn't that tired? The crazy asshole asked, nudging Electric. I wonder if nerfing is also a cheat, Thunderbird wondered. How many times can we do the same thing? This guy is definitely nuts, Electric decided. Let there be no fatigue here, but is it normal to have a 5,000 BO session, he thought. He should have surrendered long ago, for since the middle of the fight, Electric had made full use of all electrophoresis techniques. The mad hermit was practically reaching his target, but nullified at the last moment by lightning strikes. Thunderbird felt someone touch his pants. You sure are a rabid dog, said he to the mad hermit. Aren't you bored? He asked the wordless Korean nerd. But even in this position, his eyes said he wouldn't back down. Only girls grab for clothes, Electric said. You'll do just as well, replied the mad hermit. The sense of danger turned to awe at what else a crazy asshole could pull off. On the way to the top, Thunderbird slaughtered many different illegals. But this was the first time he'd seen such crazy nerds. Dumb as an oak, but persistent, the fifth-rate electrician realized. Everyone was cracking up after meeting Thunderbird, but not that dumbass asshole. It broke all his skills and fighting techniques, but the madman reinvented them and was rising again. It's as if someone turned him into a robot that doesn't know how to give up. Because of this, even Thunderbolt felt awe in front of this madness. No one could change the nature of man. Everyone gives up sooner or later, thought the fifth-rate electrician. Shadowstep Thunderbolt noticed the hermit's technique. He had seen